Hi everybody, I'm Paul Dayton and my website's pauldayton.us. I'm here to talk to you a little bit about my first book, Correcting Our Financial Miseducation, Raising the Bar for the Average. This book is a manual, it's for everybody, but it's designed at or targeted at sort of young people meaning people between the ages of 16 to 25, we'll say, people just getting started with making choices, handling money, and setting up their careers and their portfolios, although there is stuff in here everyone can use. The object is not to rub people's noses in what they did wrong, but instead to illustrate to people who are just starting to make important decisions in their lives what the people who came before them have done, and to help new people learn from the older people's mistakes so that the new people can have better lives, which is a recurring theme of history amongst the learned and advanced races. And there's no reason that people, that our country and our people can't keep with that tradition. The first half is about personal finance. The second half is about larger financial issues. We take a look, it's sort of iconoclastic in the sense that we take a look at things that are supposedly closed issues, which as a matter of fact are not closed or resolved. In fact, what's being taught as sort of the accepted norms that people don't even question are often untrue or at least imperfect. And we try to show people by speaking the language of evidence and encouraging people to elevate. I mean, that's one of the lessons of the book. Go from the language of t-shirt slogans and unsubstantiated claims, like a backwards people who think there's a such thing as magic words and, we can just chant the proper sayings, that'll fix everything, into the modern age in which we have scientific evidence and we can consult the evidence and benefit from the experience of others. One of the things, for example, in the area of personal finance is this business of going to college. In the United States, there's always been a question about what value formal education has, and particularly whether or not college has been worth the money in terms of teaching people things or being an indicator of above average intellect on the one hand, or whether it's just membership in this club that's very expensive and is sort of just this VIP pass that gets people to the front of the line, but they don't actually know anything more. There's always been that kind of debate in the air. However, when you have a situation, say, in the middle of the 20th century in which 1 out of 5 American adults had one college certificate or more, that's 20% of the people, it definitely gave the person, its bearer, an advantage. It definitely took them to the front of the line when it came to job interviews. There's no doubt about it. It had value. It was probably worth the extra money and time that it costs the person to obtain the certificate. Once you get to the year like 1990 and up to the turn of the century, you start getting 1 out of 5 and then 1 out of 4 American adults have at least one college certificate. It's less clear that it gave the person a distinct advantage that was worth the extra cost of dollars and of time. And then you get to the year 2020 in which 1 out of 3 American adults has at least one college certificate. And the news programs and politicians are even shouting from the rooftops that these things are worthless. On the one hand, they're so worthless that nobody should have to pay for them, but on the other hand, they're so valuable that you must be forced to pay for your neighbors to have one. Well, which one is? Alarm bells should be going off. Well, which one is it? Let's consult the evidence. And what we know for certain is that if there was a large event like a sporting event or a rock concert or something like that, it's a 60,000 seat venue. When 5% of the people have the VIP pass and 95% of the people have the regular pass, it's probably worth extra money to buy your VIP pass. You get right to the front of the line. It's better experience for you. However, when 1/3 of the people, when 20,000 out of the 60,000 people have a VIP pass and 40,000 of the 60,000 people have the regular pass, what you have are two very long lines with 1/3 of the dopes paying much, much more for their ticket to get in. It's not nearly as clearly worth it, and frankly, it's probably clear that it's not worth it. And so we examine the evidence more closely in detail. It's just one piece of evidence we do in our chapter on college, and maybe I'll do a video about that to come. The second half is about larger financial issues. We talk about the New Deal, which should spell instantaneous political suicide for any politician who attaches that name to their legislation, but for some reason, since its inception and during every era up to the present day, has been extremely politically profitable. So we spend a lot of time on the New Deal in the second half of this book, along with other the ills of socialized medicine and other larger political issues. So I'm just going to read you a few pages to finish the video from the introduction to the second half of this book, and that's called Part 2, Vote for Freedom, How to Stay Free. Contrary to common assertions, there are no political ideologies. The claims of different views or beliefs are merely attempts to recuse one's own aversion to reality. Sophistry of this kind is sought to provide a sort of get-out-of-reality-free card to the speaker. There are facts that serve as evidence, the weight of which dictate inescapable conclusions. Inasmuch as there are two sides to political effects on liberty and finances, those sides are facts versus folklore, reality versus fiction, evidence and proof versus unsubstantiated claims. If you're told a person that as a matter of basic arithmetic, 2 plus 2 equals 4, and prove it to them by stacking wooden blocks before them in each of the possible ways, demonstrating that no matter which order the blocks are placed in, 2 plus 2 equals 4 every single time. And that person responds by saying that they disagree, or that they have a different ideology or worldview, then that is the person's way of letting you know that they are not interested in permitting the facts to dictate conclusions, and are therefore not a person who is worth being taken seriously. Demonstrating inferiority to the academic standards to which we hold our 6-year-olds in kindergarten is about as damning a revelation as a person can make about themselves. Beware of television and newspaper content that is branded as journalism or political news coverage, as it is often mislabeled. In real businesses, customers are the most important influence upon behavior. The most important goal is to keep them pleased in the most profitable way possible. In these businesses, particularly in television, the customer is not the viewer, but rather the advertisers who buy time on a given station and during different given shows. Those who work in the sales department of a television network, radio station, or a newspaper don't solicit their viewers or readers to pay money to their employers. They spend their time soliciting businesses to buy advertising time or ad space. The sponsors of the shows are the driving force behind the content provided by these outlets, whose object is the delivery of their target customers, which are highly impressionable, short-sighted, vapid, responsive to emotive stimulus as opposed to factual information, likely to waste all of their money in excess of necessities, or even instead of their necessities, on consumer spending, likely to give knee-jerk reactions in lieu of deep thinking, and who mindlessly regurgitate that which they have just been told without engaging in any critical thinking. Never forget that these media people are not in the business of being correct, but rather they are in the business of being interesting. It is their job to attract and hold an audience, or at least to be able to convince advertisers that they're holding the audience through the commercial breaks. It is the responsibility of the audience to only pay attention to news programs that demonstrate an interest in being correct, or rather than those engaging in sensationalism and claims without any evidence or proof to substantiate those claims. It is through this method that the free market will dictate an improvement in the quality of the content produced. These people masquerade as journalists, but many are merely actors and actresses in show business. They recite their lines without regard to the factual accuracy of their message, or the moral consequences of possibly persuading people to believe these lies, because it is the audience that validates their behavior by acting as their audience. Why would a show change itself if it fills the seats with paying customers every night? Only an empty theater or a low rating will influence them to alter their content. So that's just a little bit of the introduction to part 2 here. Something to think about for you. I encourage you to check out Correcting Our Financial Miseducation, Raising the Bar for the Average. Check out my website, pauldayton.us, for free excerpts and a few videos and a lot of cool stuff. So thank you for your time, and I hope you have a great day.